We're 3 months away from the election in America. What's going on in that country from your perspective? What do we need to think about? There's obviously these battleground states, many of which were accused of election interference, and these same states are going to matter, these same counties are going to matter. I just had Rudy Giuliani in here, who was one of the first people here that ever credibly talked in detail about what actually happened on the ground. I never heard this before, of course, because he can't say it on any mainstream media outlets. And all you hear is someone bringing it up and then it being dismissed as these crazy misinformation people. Of course, that's not true. But when you hear the details, it's shocking, worrying, and quite credible. What concerns you?
Well, I'm shocked and worried too. And whether you want to believe or accept that there was election cheating, I think every election has cheating. No one would deny there's some cheating and malfeasance going on in every election we've ever had. But if you want to think or not there was massive cheating in 2020, ask yourself this question. Let's presume there is some in the next election, and it's against your candidate, whoever that may be. I think one troubling thing we learned is there's no way for the aggrieved party to get justice in court, because the courts, even if they're not skewed against the particular candidate, they seem to be geared toward expecting some sort of burden of proof that's impossible to produce in a short time period. As someone pointed out, I think it was I try to watch some of the hearings and so on in the Trump cases that were early on. One of the attorneys for Trump told a judge, the judge was asking them to have some certified signatures of people who knew that there had been some problems and there was some evidence, and the attorney had missed the deadline by a day, very quick deadline to produce these. And the attorney simply said, please, can you not extend this deadline for a day or two, because we have more work to do. And he pointed out, the attorney for Trump, that when election fraud is prosecuted, it takes years to prove and gather evidence and find information. And how are they expected to do this in a matter of days and hours and days? And the judge nonetheless dismissed his chances to have a one-day extension or so to get more evidence. If you figure that the Trump people, they didn't have, or whoever the aggrieved party would be, they don't have subpoena power, so they may suspect that there is documentation to be found, but they can't get their hands on it. There's no way for them to do so. They may have witnesses that they'd like to examine who wouldn't want to come forward on their own, but they have no subpoena power to conduct depositions. And yet the courts are there, and the public is then saying, well, there's no evidence. You have no evidence. I think that should be disturbing to us, that whoever the aggrieved party supposedly is, there's no way for them to have redress after an election. And by the time they might develop it, let's say 3 years down the road, well, whoever was theoretically wrongly elected is not going to be thrown out of office. It's simply too late. That tells a potentially cheating party all they need to do is get through the election, and those hours afterwards declare victory, and there's really no going back. I think that should and could be addressed in a comprehensive way, but there's been I don't see anybody trying to do such a thing or any pressure to do it. And I think they, meaning in this case the Democrats, so successfully controversialized the asking of the question that even Republicans fear being affiliated in many instances with asking rational questions about how we would navigate such a thing.
You know, Trump goes out of his way now to mention it at every single speech. That wasn't really happening 6 months ago, and he was being called out, and that was potentially, illegal, or what he was saying. But now he's really saying it in every single speech.
Well, I think if that's what he believes, he should. He has the right to say it. That should be something that he talks about and draws attention to. And I do wonder, we'll be covering this story on Full Measure, what changes have been made to give more public confidence, because it's not just the Trump supporters. Polls show that a majority of people, whatever side they come on, believe that there was cheating in the last election of some kind. You don't hear that on the news much, but those are independent polls. And so what has been done to try to ensure on the front end, because that's where it has to happen, that it doesn't happen in the first place, to avoid putting people, an alleged aggrieved party, in the position of after the fact trying to come up with evidence. This should be done right along the way. And I don't know what changes specifically have been made to try to get more public confidence in the 2024 elections, but we'll be looking into that and hopefully unearthing some information.
It's also tricky because there's only so much the federal government can do because it's a state issue.
Well, it's up to the parties, and in some respects, it's up to So this is another issue, but I feel like in this country, we are now kind of governed by an extra constitutional system of two political parties that determine a lot of the stuff outside of what we want or what we vote on. But a lot of these processes are left up to the political parties in terms of how they monitor and how aggressive they are at making sure that, things are done the proper way and that everybody gets a chance to vote, the votes are counted the right way. So it's sort of up to them in some respects to figure out how to crack this nut.
Yeah, and like you said, even the party itself is another layer. I mean, Bobby really tried to be part of the Democratic Party and they boxed him out. And then, I don't know if Biden decided to drop out or they pushed him out. And there's all these real big question marks around, democracy when it comes to these two parties.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
If you look at, so I don't know if most people know that New Hampshire and Iowa primaries or caucuses, which are the first two in the United States, were thrown out this year by the Democrats. They didn't count them. They basically said, you don't count. One of them was the results were held for months because they were not likely to look good for Joe Biden. So they made sure to blend the results in with South Carolina and states where he would do better. They didn't even, I believe it was Iowa, they just decided not to count for the first time in history. This didn't get much publicity. And then in the end, everyone who voted in the Democrat side, their vote didn't count because the party stepped in and decided who they wanted their candidate to be regardless of the voter wishes. Now, maybe voters don't care if they voted Democrat because they, in the end, regretted having Biden as the choice. That's possible. But the fact is, if the party can step in regardless of an election and a primary and just name their own candidate who got no votes from anybody and declare them to be, the new nominee, why hold a primary? My question is, why should the Democrat Party waste time and energy? If they're going to say Bobby Kennedy can't run, which is basically what they did, no Democrat can run against our incumbent, we're not going to count the first two primaries, and then we're going to pick an entirely different candidate that nobody voted for, why hold a primary at all?
It's shocking to talk about.
And the Republicans would like to do this now. So I'm not saying that Republicans are pure and Democrats aren't. When Donald Trump came on the scene, believe me, the Republicans would have loved nothing more than to do this to Donald Trump so he couldn't have been the nominee.
Yeah.
But they were just not as good or as effective at whatever they tried to, put in there to keep Donald Trump out.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.